What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you tune in and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to talk about Shai Gilgeous Alexander, right? And he catching a lot of flack from basketball fans. Basketball fans are saying that Shai is ruining the game by flopping, right? Which I'm not a big fan of flopping, but I don't really fall into the category of thinking that Shai Gilgeous Alexander is running the game with the flopping. I've seen, because flopping, in my opinion, is not new, right? And if the referees don't call flopping, then the basketball players are going to stop doing it. I remember, what was the guy who used to play for the Spurs? Manu Ginobili. He used to flop and flail all the time, right? And sometimes he'd get the call, sometimes he wouldn't get the call. But for the most part, basketball players back in the day, they had to really be careful about that, because if you flop at the wrong time and you give your opponent an easy basket, you more so hurting your team. It's like flopping is not a play that is going to, in most cases, benefit your team unless the refs call it. So you're really taking a gamble when you flopping. So I'm not really too worried about basketball players that flop. James Harden, because even if you look at James Harden, like throughout his career, like James Harden flopped a lot. But what has he gained from the flopping? Or think about any basketball player who has flopped. None of those guys, really gain anything. It's an annoyance, if anything, but they're not like, you can't flop your way to a championship. Um, you can't flop your way to the Hall of Fame or anything like that. So it's more so of an annoyance, right? And the guy Scat spoke about flopping, and part of the reason why a lot of people right now are are hating on Shai Gilgeous. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio, then I'm gonna come back and give some more of my input.
Well, SGA is getting a lot of hate from a lot of places these days. And accordingly, I am getting a lot of hate as well for being one of those people hating on him. And look, it isn't because he isn't talented. He is. Furthermore, it isn't because he's not great. He is. It is because of the insufferable tactics he is utilizing. And yes, because I'm sorry, he is kind of overrated right now. Thanks to Prize Picks, by the way, for sponsoring this video. And for starters on Shai, look, he really doesn't even have to do much outside of score the basketball. Yes, he is averaging 8 assists currently in these playoffs, but his scoring is also down in the postseason, as is his shooting, like significantly down. SGA has averaged 30 points per game for the last 4 consecutive regular seasons, while he is sitting at just 28.5 points per game right now in the playoffs. And look, I mentioned his shooting. That is also down significantly. He shot 55% from the field during the regular season this year, and a astonishing 66.5% true shooting percentage. Those are truly ridiculous numbers. In the postseason, he's down to 47% standard shooting percentage, which is like an 8% dip, and he is down 6 percentage points to 60% even on his true shooting during the playoffs.
Now let me just say this about like stats dipping most of the time, for most players, stats do dip in the playoffs because defense, you're going against better teams, and they have the scouting report, and so they're geared to specifically stop Shai Gilgeous, right? And so I don't really, like, all right, so he went from like 32 to 28, and that's, to me, that's not a big difference. Because they're still winning, now if they cut his points in half or cut him down like a third, then that's something to be concerned about. But he 4 points off, and he's doing other things on the court. He's not a one-dimensional basketball player, so I'm not really too concerned about that. And like I said, with the flopping, if the refs stop calling that, then he'll have to stop. He'll have to stop flopping. And because I believe that players are a product of the environment that is created by the powers that be. So if, like I said, if the refs stop calling it and the league becomes a tougher league, a more physical league, where you can't get away with that flopping, he won't do it. Also agree with Scap when he says that Shai don't have to do that. So he'll be one of the players who can make that adjustment without it actually without actually hurting his game. So, again, that's why I'm not really too down on him. I don't think he's ruining the game by flopping. I'm not, I don't like to see it, but I don't think he's ruining the game by flopping.
Also, in terms of the load he is shouldering right now, well, his 28.5 points per game of the 120 points per game roughly his team is scoring is really only 23% of the offensive output for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Compare that to, say, I don't know, Kobe Bryant in 2001, one of the championships he got carried to. Yeah, Kobe averaged 28% of his team's offensive output during that postseason run. Oh, and by the way, that was while Kobe was an All-NBA designated defender that season, and he was the 30th net rated defender in the postseason. Compare that to Shai, who is currently sitting in this playoff run as the 119th net rated defender for his Thunder team. And look, none of that is really taking into account the overall strength of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's team, which is the bench and the team defense, nor is it considering the real elephant in the room, which is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's foul baiting and grifting tactics. More on all of that in a moment, but first, SGA and his Thunder are in action tonight in a pivotal Game 4 at San Antonio, which means I will be getting in the game with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Tonight, I really like Julian Champagnie, more than 5.5 points. He has been more than that total in every single game he has played this postseason for the San Antonio Spurs. Same with Stephon Castle on his total, more than 11.5 points. I like him more than that, as again, he's been more in every game he has played in this postseason. On the other end, give me Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been hot and cold, especially in this series, but I like him more than 6 points tonight. I think the Thunder are going to utilize more double big lineups, especially with all the guard injury situations that the Thunder are dealing with currently. And guys, look, it's easy to play. You just pick more.
Look, let me know how, because by the time this video will be aired, Game 4 will be in the as a matter of fact, Game 4 has already been played. The Spurs beat the I don't know what out of. So let me know how successful these bets were. So if you listen to these predictions and these prop bets and stuff like that, let me know how successful they were, because Game 4 has already been played. The Spurs beat the they beat the pants off of these guys, man. And so, let me know what y'all think about these prop bets and stuff like that. But let's hear Scap get back to Shai Gilgeous.
Or less on a few player stats to lock in your lineups. And I have a new users offer for you today. Play $5, get $50 in lineups to download the app using code HMA with the link in the description. And look, you would think SGA would have to be big for his Thunder to get that 3-1 lead tonight, which would be massive for them. The difference between a 3-1 lead and a 2-2 lead is monumental, especially with the Knicks looking like they're headed on their way to a series.
Remember, it's 2-2, so it didn't go 3-1. It's 2-2, and it's looking like this is going to go 7.
Sweep and a long layoff waiting for the NBA Finals to begin. So that the Thunder would like to do the same and not give the Knicks that rest advantage. And look, they did get that big win on the road in Game 3 to go up 2-1. But SGA, well, he was just all right. He scored 26 points in that game, but on only 35% shooting from the field. The big story in that one was the 76 points off of the bench, which is an all-time NBA record in the conference finals or later since tracking data began on this. 76 bench points, and that was while their second best player, Jalen Williams, missed the game altogether. So they had to elevate their ace bench player, AJ Mitchell, who looked like the best player on the Thunder in last series against the Lakers, while he was starting in place of Jalen.
Yeah, their bench is really strong, and that's why I'm giving the advantage to OKC in 7 games. I think they may wear the Spurs down and be able to beat them in 7. So if it goes 7, I give the advantage to the Thunder. But yeah, I back to my original point. I just don't feel like this guy Shai is running the game. He's not the first player that flopped. I don't like to see any of those guys flop. Like I said, you can't flop your way to a championship. You can't flop your way into the Hall of Fame. So you at some point in time you gotta play some basketball. You gotta strap up and play basketball. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. With that being said, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.